Greetings, everyone, and welcome. I'm the Chancellor Soul Mike Boone. You tune in to another edition of Soul Facts, a show highlighting the history of music and legendary artists and preserving their legacy. This special edition of Soul Facts features the Siblings of Soul, a brother and sister that's related to a famous artist whose fame overshadowed their success. This story includes a gentleman who's the older offspring of a famous lead singer of a world-renowned group, The Temptations, being David Ruffin, but whose contributions to R&B and pop music will forever be cemented and stamped in the minds of music fans the world over. Soul Facts Spotlight Sibling Artist, Mr. Jimmy Ruffin. Born May 7, 1936 or 1939 in Collinsville, Mississippi, Jimmy Lee Ruffin's upbringing was in a rural household that had no electricity. His early music formation was uprooted from the fortified soils of gospel. Jimmy's music inspiration was Mahalia Jackson, and by listening to his father and older brother harmonizing spirituals in a local gospel group. Ruffin would later form his own group with his younger siblings, calling themselves the Spiritual Trying Four. Jimmy also liked listening to secular music at friends' houses or juke joints, anywhere the R&B played. Jimmy never had any ambitions of becoming a professional singer, but enjoyed singing. He later served in the armed forces during the late 1950s and joined a group that toured the U.S. bases in Europe. When Jimmy's enlistment ended, he was going to re-enlist again, but a woman who booked the acts talked him into turning professional. And so he did. Eventually, Ruffin left the military and traveled back to Mississippi for a spell, and then migrated up north and settled in Detroit. His younger brother David was there already, trying to pursue a singing career. He linked with two labels, Anna Records, owned by songwriter Billy Davis, and Gwen Gordy, sister of record mogul Berry Gordy Jr., and Chess Records affiliated Checkmate, issuing a few singles, I'm in Love for Anna, Action Speak Louder Than Words, and Mr. Bus Driver, Hurry on Checkmate. David introduced Jimmy to a newly signed artist on Motown named Mary Wells, who in turn got Ruffin an audition at the label, where afterwards he obtained a contract instantly with the company. Jimmy appeared on Motown's subsidiary label Miracle and issued his first self-composed single in January of 1961 entitled Don't Feel Sorry for Me, a Jackie Wilson sound-alike that Ruffin hated for not sounding like himself.
Don't feel sorry for me, I'm gonna be alright.
While working at the Ford Motor Company, recording, singing background, gigging at local clubs, playing guitar with his brother David, Jimmy also dabbled at penning songs for a local Detroit group called The Four Holidays, such as I'll Walk Right Out of the Door, I Can't Wait, and I Won't Need You, from 1962 to 1963. Around this time, the Temptations needed to replace one of its members, Elbridge Bryant, and asked Jimmy to join them. He declined, but later, David, his younger brother, became the lead vocalist with the dynamic group. In 1964, Jimmy collaborated with songwriter Norman Whitfield and composed the smooth on the groove gem Since I Lost You on the new Motown subsidiary label Soul, which became the second single issued on the imprint. The first being another classic gem, Devil with the Blue Dress On, by the late great Shorty Long.
My life is so blue, girl, since I've lost you.
Originally titled They Call Me Mr. Blue, Jimmy said that he changed the lyric to My Life Is So Blue,
My life is so blue.
in which he used as a refrain a line or lines that are repeated in music or in a verse or in the chorus of a song. Believe it or not, Jimmy never received songwriter's credit featured on the single. Although not a huge hit, it remains one of Jimmy's early classic gems. You know, there's also a great version of this gem recorded by the Temptations, featured on their 1969 masterpiece LP, Puzzle People.
My life is so blue, so blue, so blue, so blue. Baby, since I've lost you.
Jimmy Ruffin's second release on soul, As Long as There Is Love, Love,
As long as there is L-O-V-E, love.
was composed by Smokey Robinson in 1965. Ruffin said he kept bugging Smokey to write him a song, so Robinson gave in and gave Jimmy this one. Its flip side, How Can I Say I'm Sorry, is another great B-side of Ruffin's that's a classic in the Northern Soul UK community. Jimmy made his first appearance in the Detroit TV show Swingin' Time, hosted by Robin Seymour, a legendary radio DJ in Detroit. What Becomes of a Brokenhearted, one of Motown's most quintessential enduring masterpiece recording, finally gave Jimmy his well-deserved taste of stardom. The song is based on a man's broken heart whose inner pain speaks out his anguish after his loved one passed away while searching for a new one. Composed by lyricist Jimmy Dean, Paul Reiser, and William Witherspoon, who scored the music, was originally written for the Spinners. The music track was already completed, so when Jimmy heard it, he told Jimmy Dean that the song was not for the Spinners. Dean said, "Well, sing it." Ruffin then took the unfinished lyric with only a verse and a chorus and started singing over the track. Afterwards, Dean agreed and told him, "You're right." With background vocals provided by the originals, whose 3 years of music fame was just around the corner, the angelic voices of the Andantes, the Funk Brothers, coupled with a masterpiece string ensemble by the Detroit Symphony Orchestra.
As I walk this land of broad.
Jimmy's Anger's tormented vocals is considered to be one of the most heartfelt, sincere performances ever produced on wax. The song originally featured a spoken verse in the beginning, done by Ruffin in an early take, but was deleted out of the final mix. The reason being was that Jimmy said that the producers felt that a black guy couldn't sell this, that it was non-convincing to the public's ear. That's why the instrumental intro with the background vocals in the beginning was so long. Now, here's an example of the deleted spoken verse from Brokenhearted. A world filled with love is a wonderful sight. Being in love is one heart's delight. But that look of love isn't on my face. That enchanted feeling has been replaced.
What becomes of the broken heart?
Released on Friday, June 3rd, 1966, What Becomes of a Brokenhearted, back with the finger-popping Baby I Got It, charted number 6 on Billboard's top-selling R&B singles on October 1st, and number 7 on the pop chart. If any of you soul fans are interested in listening to the deleted spoken word verse by Jimmy Ruffin on What Becomes of a Brokenhearted, it is featured on the UK 2-CD Tamla Motown release of Jimmy Ruffin, The Ultimate Motown Collection, and the 4-CD box set of the Motown Box 2005 Anthology, featured with a new stereo extended mix. Jimmy Ruffin soon quit his job at the Ford Motor Company after Brokenhearted was a huge hit and concentrated more on his singing career. His next classic follow-up, I've Passed This Way Before, also composed by Jimmy Dean and William Witherspoon, also included a spoken word intro that this time the songwriting duo left in when Ruffin spoke it. Jimmy said he never felt comfortable with that performance because he figured, well, since they deleted the spoken intro on Brokenhearted, they'll erase this one as well. So he did it with no conviction.
I've passed this way before.
I've Passed This Way Before hit number 10 R&B on February 4th, 1967. The Soul Imprint issued Jimmy's debut album, Jimmy Ruffin Sings the Top 10. The title was dubbed by Bobby Rogers of the Miracles and inspired by him when Jimmy stated that when his hit Brokenhearted hit top 10 on both the R&B and pop charts, Bobby Rogers exclaimed, "Jimmy Ruffin's in the top 10. Wow!" Released in January 1967, the front cover features a live shot of Ruffin in performance, pictured in a monochromatic tinted hue color. Now, for a better visual appeal, the art department at Motown, with the company budget approval, permission to reissue the album with a different front cover, with Jimmy once again in performance wearing red attire. Ruffin didn't care much for the cover. He said that with Brokenhearted being a hit, the art department should have done a better proper photo. Nevertheless, the album is considered one of Motown's finest, and with the second reissue, rarest. Well, finally reaching his dream into the top 10 of his recordings, Jimmy Ruffin continued to seek a path through his travels in the musical fork road of his career.